All right, YouTube, this is 2 Cent back with my 2 cents on OCTOPATH TRAVELER, and we've been talking about the Bravely Default collab that's going to be coming starting next week. So in my previous video, we talked about the free unit, Elvis. Now we're going to start moving into the ones that we're going to have to actually pull from banners, and the first one of that is likely to be Adelle. And each one of these units is going to probably get their own separate banner. That'll kind of be like after 1 week, one's out, and then they're going to be introducing another unit that'll be out for 2 weeks, and then the third unit will be, as soon as Adelle's kind of finishes up, she'll have a 2-week run as well. So that's kind of how it worked over in JP. We'll see if we get that same thing here. Everything with the collabs, they could try and keep it the exact same as it was for JP, or maybe they'll kind of, make all the collabs kind of work the same for us over here in Global. There's no way of telling, so we're just gonna have to wait and see exactly how that works. However, I do want to talk about Adelle today because she's definitely going to be one that I think might interest some individuals out there. So let's get into the video. All right, to start us off here, we have Adelle going to be a thief. 20% dark resistance as well as a 10% light resistance. Pretty standard for units that are going to be carrying these elements. And then I wanted to make sure I put in the SP, the attack, the crit, and the speed, because this unit is going to side on, kind of lean to the side of damage unit. So I kind of wanted to put those stats in there so we can have some reference for them. So obviously looking at her splash art, and this is, one of the things that really kind of drew me into liking the Bravely Default series, is that these are just fabulous looking units, as well as when I seen that JP had this in OCTOPATH TRAVELER. It's one of the things that was really exciting me to kind of look forward to, because I knew it wouldn't be too far into release, excuse me. I really do like the Nier, I do like A2 and 2B, I love those units, but I knew that they were further on down the road, so this was kind of been what I've been looking forward to for my first kind of hype unit coming. So if that hasn't given you an idea of kind of where I'm sitting on this unit, just let's get into her kit. All right, so you can see that I have quite a few things highlighted here. Let's just kind of go through them. We're going to get access to a 3x dagger, single target, that will always reduce shield points. This is really nice. I've been using just Cleese on my team, and he's got that 2x hit, so I'm looking to, be able to upgrade that to a 3x hit. I like these units, thieves especially, that are going to have these break shields no matter what, because they're really great, especially early on as we're still formulating a lot of the teams that we need to be able to shield break boss enemies and whatnot. We can always just slot in some of these thief units that are just going to guarantee being able to knock them down, and that's really, I think, useful for a lot of people. So we're also going to get access to the self-dodge physical attack. This is going to be, one of those things that if you know real big hits coming up or something like that, you can kind of pop this in there. As far as, what I'll call is action economy, may not be the best thing in most circumstances, but every now and then it's better to be alive than to not be alive for, doing damage. So that'll be useful there in those cases. And then we're gonna have access to a 2x light AoE. So that'll be nice, especially if you're still working on the Tikiland Cup. Here we go, another unit for that. And then in our 5-star skills, we have a dagger, single target, that if at boost max is going to be a guaranteed critical. And then the specials, which we'll get later on down the road, are also just going to be go ahead guaranteed crits. So you're not going to have to worry about boosting them. But I do like the 600 power there is a pretty good hit, and as well as having that guaranteed critical on there. And then you can see how that kind of works with her passive, that she's going to get that 30% damage up when dealing a critical hit. I just really like that. Now there is one thing I want to point out into our passives here, and if I don't play the JP version, but I do read, and so the way I am interpreting this is that we have a self 30% damage up when dealing critical hits, and a self 30% damage up while there is a poisoned enemy. So these are not going to stack. Damage up abilities will only go up to 30%. So you're not going to be able to double dip in here. And you can see that if you look at our little graphic here. It showcases that damage up abilities are going to kind of all be calculated together, and therefore are going to hit that 30% kind of threshold that we have, that we won't be able to go any more on. So when you're utilizing her guaranteed critting abilities, it doesn't matter if the the enemy is poisoned. And if the enemy is poisoned, then, well, sure, you're going to get the 30% damage up, but you might as well crit so you can do some extra damage just from the actual crit damage that you're going to get. So just keep that, as it is. That you might just ignore the poison enemy thing, especially if you're going to be doing a lot of the kind of crit-based attacks. However, if you happen to be running some poison, then you don't have to be quite as worried when you're doing your shield breaks. You'll do some extra damage because you're not worrying about critting. All right, now that we have a pretty good idea of what her kit is, she's definitely going to pair closely to Heathcote. So let's kind of take a look, put these two up against each other, and kind of get a feel for who, we might, enjoy having on our team more, or if you already have Heathcote, is it worth kind of getting Adelle? That's what we're going to be kind of looking at here. All right, so right off the beginning here, let's look at this SP, attack, crit, and speed. It looks like the only place in which Heathcote is going to be able to win out over Adelle is he does have slightly more SP. For whatever it's worth, he might be able to cast one additional ability, before having to be switched out to the back or have some sort of regen involved. So looking over at his kit here, we're going to look at some very familiar looking things. 3x dagger, single target that will always reduce shields, and a 2x wind AoE, which will always reduce shield points. So this is similar to Adelle's kit here, where she's going to have that same dagger ability and access to a 2x light AoE, but do note that hers is not always going to reduce the shields, whereas Heathcote's will. So keep that for whatever it might kind of work for you. Now, the 2x dagger AoE that Heathcote has is definitely where he's going to be kind of like winning out here, and then a priority dagger single target. Both of these abilities are obviously ones that Adelle doesn't have, and that AoE is just going to be really nice in a lot of circumstances, and not having that as an option is going to kind of hurt Adelle in some ways. However, if you look here, the nuke on Adelle is going to be a lot harder hitting than Heathcote's, as well as being able to get buffed up with that 30% from guaranteed crit. She's definitely going to hit harder than Heathcote's going to be able to do. Now, Heathcote's got these other sort of things where at the end of the turn, 20% chance to remove an ailment. I feel like this is like an okay passive depending on the fight. And then the self 20% damage up when attacking an enemy's weakness. This is okay in those circumstances, but part of the idea of bringing along these thief units was that you could use them to break shields even when it wasn't the weakness. And, Adelle's going to have the 30% up where he's only going to have the 20% up from these. So we're definitely looking at this here. Heathcote's going to have some advantages a little bit on the shield breaking, just because he's going to have the ability to AoE, and Adelle's going to have the advantage on the attacking side of things, where she's really just going to be able to lay some really solid hits on the enemies. All right, so for a quick recap, we got some pros here as being a great shield breaker, has this kind of mitigation of being able to kind of dodge some attacks, and then brings the damage. Very much going to be a very damage heavy unit, especially when you're going in for those special abilities later on down the road when we get access to those. All right, so far I've spoke very highly of Adelle, but there are a couple things I do want to kind of go over to make sure you guys realize that I'm not just having huge degrees of copium here. So this unit is very selfish. As you can see, there's no debuffing going on, there's no buffing other enemies going on. At the most she's kind of doing here is providing an opportunity to poison an enemy in case some other people on your team might benefit from that. But in general, a very selfish unit, which is okay, but selfish units typically are the ones who are going to be quote unquote power crept first, because that all they're relying on is the ability to do damage and their ability to shield break, in which the next unit that can shield break a little better or deal a little bit more damage is going to kind of make make them not as appealing anymore. What is kind of nice about OCTOPATH TRAVELER is that we're making teams of 8, so it takes a while for a unit to become totally irrelevant, but your support units have a longer lifespan because of those different things. Not that there's not power creep there too, and you'll find that out when we get Ophelia later on. But in general, selfish unit. And we're also going to have the problem with this is a limited unit, which means if you're not able to pull the unit all the way, you know, to its max awaken, there's going to be very little opportunity for you to be able to get that in the future, and it's going to come at you, you know, the cost of you actually having saved for a rerun to kind of do that. So whereas with Heathcote, he's in the general pool. Heck, you might pull and awaken Heathcote while pulling for Adelle. So that's something to, you know, kind of think about as well as you're kind of going through this. As for me, this character is really cute. I really like the kit. I don't have a 5-star thief at all, or, you know, for matter, a 4.5 star. So I'm going to go ahead and pull, and I'm going to work on getting this unit. I hope I don't have to go too far, because there is one other unit coming out with this collab that I would like to go for. However, I think Adelle might be a little bit more important to my current account than the other unit, so I'm going to pull for her first. So be looking forward to that next Wednesday, that I will be going in on this banner here. Anyway, thanks for watching, and that's been my 2 cents.